Well, good morning, Bible Fellowship leaders. A couple of things I wanted to share with you today on our Leadership Lifter. First of all, thank you for everybody who was a part of our group meeting last Sunday. Hope your team meeting went well. I want to encourage you to invite all of your leaders. Try and recruit more outreach leaders, or if your prayer quarter is not coming, we've got a good team from our class coming, and great ideas just flow during those team meetings. So thank you for being there. One thing I wanted to refer to that I mentioned last week was Impact Weekend is coming up. This week in your folders, you're going to have a sign-up sheet for a prayer team. They'll put their name, they'll put their cell phone number, and during the weekend, people will receive prayer texts to remind them to pray for certain things specifically that are going on during Impact Weekend. Also, there was a sign-up sheet for people to sign up for different jobs for Impact Weekend, and also continue collecting your money. Thank you for pushing that. We're so excited what God's going to do through that. Secondly, your new curriculum, as we mentioned last week, is here. Hopefully you've already gotten that. If not, there's some in your folders. There's some around. You can talk with Vicki if you need to get more of that. A third thing that we mentioned was the podcast that Lifeway offers for Explore the Bible. I explained how to get to that. Google, search podcast, Lifeway, Explore the Bible, or if you have podcast on your phone, you can just search for those as well. And each week there's a 20-minute or so podcast going over the lesson and giving you some teaching tips. This week we happen to be in Daniel chapter 9, 4 through 19, where Daniel is praying after the second vision that he has after he's been reading in Jeremiah about the exile, and how it's just golden teaching about how Daniel starts with praising God, how he confesses, and how we as believers can have a roadmap for prayer. Man, I think if anything believers struggle with, prayer is one of those things. And so specifically, helping your people understand this is what it means to pray. And finally, I wanted just to give you a quick teaching tip from Dr. Howard Hendricks' books that I've been going through, Teaching to Change Lives. This is chapter 4, The Law of Communication. And he says this. He says, the word communication comes from the Latin word communis, meaning common. Before we can communicate, we must establish commonness with the people we're teaching. He tells a quick story I want to read. He says, Mike and his wife Beth are happily married. They have 4 children, 2 boys and girls. Mike also teaches an adult Bible fellowship class. In that class are many people like Mary. Mary's divorced, a single parent of 2 sons. Mike's primary task as a teacher is to flow into the life of Mary and those like her. But he can't assume that Mary is coming from the same place that he and his wife Beth are coming from. So Mike and Beth have to spend time with Mary to develop commonality, to find out what she's struggling with. They invite her over with her 2 boys to come to a barbecue one night at their house so they can talk. Later, they ask Mary to go with them to the symphony. And finally, Mike eventually takes Mary's 2 sons on a fishing trip. In the process, Mike and Beth develop a base of commonality with Mary. That's why Mike earns the right to communicate with Mary on Sunday morning. He wins a hearing. So for us to be able to communicate with those that we are teaching, we've got to be intentional with spending time with our people. And I've got 3 different ways. Number 1, class socials. Take that time just to meet people. Don't just fellowship with those that you know. And invite everybody to be a part of that social, even those that are prospects. Number 2, before and after Bible fellowship class. Now, if you're going to worship, let's do it before. If you're coming from worship, let's do it after. But just get to know the people outside of class. And third, personally, maybe going to lunch, maybe inviting them over to dinner. And I know we have such big classes, you have to just go with what you can. But let's be intentional about meeting people, being in common with people, so that we can communicate with people. Love you guys. See you Sunday.